What's up, everybody? This is Geoff Alterman here, jumping in to do a real review over here on the Watt Real Entertainment channel. Uh, I got a chance to see an early screening of Evil Dead Rise, directed by Lee Cronin, and I wanted to talk about it. Lee Cronin, he had only had one previous film before this, the A24 film The Hole in the Ground, which I haven't seen yet, but I will now after this. The Evil Dead franchise is, of course, the storied, screwed up, messed up series with starring Bruce Campbell in the original trilogy and television series from the mastermind Sam Raimi. And this is a series that I love. The very first one I ever saw happened to be Army of Darkness, and I had no idea what it was, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And it took until college for me to actually be able to see the rest of them. And I went twice to see community theater productions of Evil Dead the Musical, with some incredible songs in there that are just so silly and fun. And this series is gory and gross and weird and kind of gonzo, and just the screwball elements of the earlier films are so good. Bruce Campbell really seemed to be the modern day Buster Keaton for a long time. However, we're not talking about Bruce Campbell's legacy in there. We're not talking about even the 2013 film from Fede Álvarez starring Jane Levy. We are talking about Evil Dead Rise, which is coming out here April 21st, 2023. And I got to tell you, it is a blast. So I went into this feeling like, oh, I'm going to squirm a little, because sometimes when it comes to the more hardcore violence, my stomach may do a few flips, and I gotta say, it definitely happened more than a few times in this film. The best way I could describe this film is that it is one of the gnarliest, bloodiest, just grossest movies I've probably ever seen, made by a mainstream movie studio. And when I went to go see this screening, filled with people that happen to be big horror fans and Evil Dead fans, and someone brought their kid who might have been maybe 11 years old, and she sat directly behind me in the theater. And early in the movie, there's a jump scare, and she screams at the top of her lung, and the whole theater cracks up. We're cracking up because we also were shocked by this too. It's a good jump scare. But she screams, and that's the sort of energy you want from a crowd. And at the end of the movie, when it's done, she yells, "That was fantastic." And that's the energy I felt coming out of this. The cast, some of them are better than others, but, we have Lily Sullivan as Beth, who is this sort of musician, guitar tech on the road, who's coming to visit her family, which is her sister, played by Alyssa Sutherland, playing Ellie, and her three kids. That's Morgan Davies, Gabriel Eccles, and Nell Fisher, playing her children. And something happens. Of course, the Necronomicon gets discovered again, and this time we're not in the medieval times. We're not in some random cabin in the woods. We're in a skyscraper. We're in an apartment building, and they really use this setting to a great effect. It also works pretty well, as a COVID production, because it's really for the majority of it, it's one set, pretty isolated, but there's a lot of crazy, interesting directorial choices that Lee Cronin chooses to execute here in the film that I find not only admirable, but just a welcome addition to the Evil Dead franchise. And I really am excited to see what else Lee Cronin does next. I'm excited to see what they may do next with this series. Right now, I have it probably square in the middle. I like all of them, but I probably have Evil Dead 2, then Army of Darkness, Evil Dead Rise, Evil Dead, and then The Evil Dead, with Ash versus Evil Dead probably right around where Army of Darkness is. That's not a fault on this film. This film is great. In fact, this film is so great, I'd probably give it 4 out of 5 stars here. And the reason for that is, it's really tight. All right. It's 90 minutes long. There's no post-credit sequence that I saw, at least at the time of the screening. And it knows what it wants to do, and it gets to it pretty quickly. And the last 40 minutes are a straight up bloodbath. the kind of thing that I still think about now over a week after having seen it. And I just cannot wait for more people to see it. I think that some characters maybe weren't acted quite as well as some of the other actors there, but they make up for it from some pretty gruesome deaths some of them end up having. So that's really it. Just real quick thoughts for a quick movie in a great franchise, another great entry. All you got to do now is just go out there, support this movie. We don't know exactly how long it's going to be in theaters with the way distribution works now. But even if we want it to make money in the theatrical window so that way we can get more of these, this is the kind of weird, freaky, demented stuff that horror fans love. And I think that people are going to love this movie just as much as I did. So there you have it. I'm Geoff Alterman with What Real Entertainment, and have a great night.